Listening squirrels. I'm so happy we have new squirrels that are listening. Yay! New squirrels. If you don't know, or any squirrels. If you don't know this, I have lots and lots, got my earrings on, lots and lots of books in my playlist of summer series like the Little Women books, Anne of Avonlea. We had started reading. I'll get back to her after this month. Um, We'd read, three of the Anne of Avonlea books. But I know lots of you like to listen while you craft, so this is your free audible. This is your grand audible. Whatever. Okay, the last thing I said, and I'll finish this one up today, and I've got another one picked out from the same author. Crossing our fingers that this one ends well. Maybe I'll see how this ends first. But the last thing I said yesterday was speeding over the waters of the Pacific. You know, he was looking through that, whatever you call it, telescope. 2 minutes later, I saw the strange pagodas of the Chinese rising before me. Wow. Sweeping my glass to the north, bleak Siberia met my gaze. Then to the south, I saw India, her jungles, her waste places. Not long after, a most awful sight met my gaze. I saw a huge ship at the moment of foundering in the Indian Ocean. Horrified, I turned my glass again to the north, and the minarets of Stamboul rose up before me. Then the dome of St. Peter's at Rome, then Paris, then London, then the Atlantic Ocean. I leveled my glass due west, and finally I could see nothing but one small black speck, as like to a fleck of dust as to anything else on the lens at the other end. With a movement of my hand I tried to wipe it off, but it still remained. And in answer to a chuckle at my side, I put the glass down. And you know, this is called Speck on the lens, I think it is. It is the most extraordinary thing I ever saw, I said. Yes, it is, said the other. One can almost see around the world with it, I cried, breathless, nearly with enthusiasm. One can quite, said the inventor calmly. Nonsense, I said. Don't claim too much, my friend. It is true, said he. Did you notice a speck on the glass? I'm sure you did, for you tried to remove it. Yes, said I did, but what of it? What does that signify? It proves what I said, he answered. You did see all around the world with that glass. The black spot on the lens that you thought was a piece of dust was the back of your own head. That's cool. Nonsense, my boy. The back of my head is bigger than that, I said. Certainly it is, he responded, but you must make some allowance for perspective. The back of your head is a trifle less than 24,000 miles from the end of your nose, the way you were looking at it. You mean to say, began the lieutenant as the doctor paused to chalk his cue. Remember, he was telling the story. Never mind what I mean to say, said the doctor. Reflect upon what I have said. But the man and the telescope, what became of them? Asked the lieutenant. I was about to tell you that. The old fellow who had made this marvelous glass, which to two eyes that he knew of, and to only two, would work as was desired, feeling that he was about to die, had come to me to offer the glass for sale for two considerations. One was a consideration of $25. The other was that I would leave no stone unturned to discover a possible third person, younger than myself, with an eye similar to those we had, to whom at my death the glass should be transmitted, exacting from him the promise that he would see that it was passed along in the same manner into the hands of posterity. I was also to acquaint the world with the discovery of the glass and the name of its inventor to the fullest extent possible. And you, of course, accepted. I did, said the doctor, but having no money in my pocket, I went down into the house to borrow it of my wife. and upon my return to the roof found no trace of the glass, the old man, or the roof either. "What?" cried the lieutenant. "Are you crazy?" "No," smiled the doctor, "not at all. For the moment I reached the roof of my house, I opened my eyes and found myself still swinging in the hammock under the trees." Was it a dream? "And the moral?" queried the lieutenant. "You promised a moral, or I should not have listened." "Always have money in your pockets," replied the doctor, pocketing the last ball and putting up his cue. "Then you are not apt to lose great bargains, such as I lost for the want of $25. "It's a good idea," returned the lieutenant, "and you live up to it, I suppose." "I do," replied the oculist, tapping his pocket significantly. "Always." "Then," said the lieutenant earnestly, "I wish you'd lend me a tenner, for really, doctor, I have gone clean broke." I like it. I hope you did too. That's all of that one. Speck on the Lens, I believe it was called. It's on the, it'll be on the title. I'm gonna go back and, yep, the Speck on the Lens. Okay, now let us start, because we've only read 6.5 minutes. The Ghost Club. Same author, John Kendrick Bangs, who lived from 1862 to 1922, dying at the young age of 55 from stomach cancer. The Ghost Club, it says in parentheses, an unfortunate episode in the life of number 5010. Number 5010 was at the time when I received the details of the story from his lips, a stalwart man of 38, swart of hue, of pleasing address, and altogether the last person one would take for a convict, serving a term for sneak thieving. The only outer symptoms of his actual condition were the striped suit he wore, the style and cut of which are still in vogue at Sing Sing prison, and the closely cropped hair which showed off the distinctly intellectual lines of his head to great advantage. He was engaged in making shoes when I first saw him, and so impressed was I with the contrast between his really refined features and grace of manner and those of his brutish-looking companions that I asked my guide who he was and what were the circumstances which had brought him to Sing Sing. "He pegs shoes like a gentleman," I said. "Yes," returned the keeper, "he's weary troublesome that way. He thinks he's too good for his position. We can't never do nothing with the boots he makes." "Why do you keep him at work in the shoe department?" I queried. "We haven't got no work to be done in his special line, so we have to put him at whatever we can. He pegs shoes less badly than he does anything else." Sorry about my red lips. Just that. These my teeth are a lot stuff. The flavor I put in my water. Let's see. He was a gentleman of leisure. Wait a minute. What was his special line? "He was a gentleman of leisure, traveling for his health before he got into the toils of the law. His real name is Marmaduke Fitztappington de Wolfe of Pelhamhurst by the Sea, Warwickshire. He landed in this country of a Tuesday, took to collecting souvenir spoons of a Friday, was jugged the same day, tried, convicted, and there he sits, in for 2 years more." "How interesting," I said. "Was the evidence against him conclusive?" "Extremely. 6 spoons was found on his person." Stole some spoons. "He pleaded guilty, I suppose?" "Not him. He claimed to be as innocent as a newborn babe, told a cock and bull story about having been deluded by spirits, but the judge and jury wasn't to be fooled. They gave him every chance to. He even cabled himself, the judge did, to Pelhamhurst by the Sea, Warwickshire, at his own expense, to see if the man was an impostor, but he never got no reply. There was them as said there wasn't no such place as Pellinghurst by the sea in Warwickshire, but they never proved it. I should very much like to interview him, said I. It can't be done, sir, said my guide. The rules is very strict. You couldn't, arrange an interview for me, I asked, jingling a bunch of keys in my pocket. He must have recognized the sound, for he colored and grumbled and gruffly replied, I has me orders and I obeys 'em. Just add this to the pension fund, I put in, handing him a $5 bill. An interview is impossible, eh? I didn't say impossible, he answered with a grateful smile. I said against the rules. But we has been known to make exceptions. I think I can fix you up. Suffice it to say, he did fix me up, and that 2 hours later, 5010 and I sat down together in the cell of the former, a not too commodious stall, and had a pleasant chat, in the source of which he told me the story of his life, which, as I had surmised, was to me at least exceedingly interesting, and easily worth twice the amount of my contribution to the pension fund under the management of my guide of the morning. My real name, said the unfortunate convict, as you may already have guessed, is not 5010. That is an alias forced upon me by the state authorities. My real name is Austin Merton Serenis. Ahem, I said. Then my guide erred this morning when he told me that in reality you were Marmaduke Fitztappin de Wolf of Pelhamhurst by the sea, Warwickshire. Number 5010 laughed long and loud. Of course he erred. You don't suppose I would give the authorities my real name, do you? Why, man, I am a nephew. I have an aged uncle, a rich millionaire uncle, whose heart and will it would break were he to hear of my present plight. Both the heart and will are in my favor, hence my tender solicitude for him. I am innocent, of course. Convicts always are, you know, but that wouldn't make any difference. He'd die of mortification just the same. It's one of our family traits, that. So I gave a false name to the authorities and secretly informed my uncle that I was about to set out for a walking trip across the great American desert, requesting him not to worry if he did not hear from me for a number of years, America being in a state of semi-civilization to which males outside of certain districts are entirely unknown. My uncle, being an Englishman and a conservative gentleman addicted more to reading than to travel, accepts the information as veracious and suspects nothing. And when I am liberated, I shall return to him, and at his death shall I become a conservative man of wealth myself. See? But if you are innocent and he rich and influential, why did you not appeal to him to save you? I asked. Because I was afraid that he, like the rest of the world, would decline to believe my defense, sighed 5010. It was a good defense if the judge had only known it, and I'm proud of it. But ineffectual, I put in, and so not good. Alas, yes, this is an incredulous age. People, particularly judges, are hard-headed, practical men of affairs. My defense was suited more for an age of mystical tendencies. Why, will you believe it, sir, my own lawyer, the man to whom I paid $18.75 for championing my cause, told me the defense was rubbish, devoid even of literary merit. What chance could a man have if his lawyer even didn't believe in him? None, I answered sadly. And you had no chance at all, though innocent? Yes, I had one, and I chose not to take it. I might have proved myself non compos mentis. And let me look that up and I'll tell you what it means. Someone who is non compos mentis is unable to think clearly, especially because of mental illness, and therefore not responsible for their reactions. But that involved my taking a fool of myself in public before a jury, and I have too much dignity for that, I can tell you. I told my lawyer that I should prefer a felon's cell to the richly furnished flat of a wealthy lunatic, to which he replied, "Then all is lost," and so it was. I read my defense in court, the judge laughed, the jury whispered, and I was convicted instanter. Let's see what that says. Instanter, I guess, means right away. Or instanter. As soon as I had called out that answer, I instanter knew that it was wrong. Instanter, it doesn't really say. I guess it just means what it sounds like, at once. Convicted instanter of stealing spoons when murder itself was no further from my thoughts than theft. But they tell me you were caught red-handed, said I. Were not a half-dozen spoons found upon your person? In my hand, returned the prisoner. The spoons were in my hand when I was arrested, and they were seen there by the owner, by the police, by the usual crowd of small boys that congregate at such embarrassing moments, springing up out of the sidewalks, dropping down from the heavens, swarming in from everywhere. I had no idea there were so many small boys in the world until I was arrested and found myself the cynosure of 1,000,000 or more innocent blue eyes. Let's look that up. Cynosure, Cynosure. Let's hear it. Cynosure. Something that strongly attracts attention by its brilliance, interest, etc. I love it when they give you these little things that you can look up and then get right back. Cynosure of 1,000,000 or more innocent blue eyes. Were they all blue-eyed? I queried, thinking the point interesting from a scientific point of view, hoping to discover that curiosity of a morbid character was always found in connection with eyes of a specified hue. "Oh, no, I fancy not," returned my host, "but to a man with a load of other fellows' spoons in his possession and a pair of handcuffs on his wrist, everything looks blue." "I don't doubt it," I replied, "but, just how, now, could you defend yourself when every bit of evidence, and you will excuse me for saying so, conclusive evidence at that, pointed to your guilt?" "The spoons were a gift," he answered, "but the owner denied that." "I know it. That's where the beastly part of it all came in. They were not given to me by the owner, but by a lot of mean, low-down, practical, joke-loving ghosts." Number 5010's anger as he spoke these words was terrible to witness, and as he strode up and down the floor of his cell and dashed his arms right and left, I wished for a moment that I was elsewhere. I should not have flown, however, even had the cell door been open and my way clear, for his suggestion of a supernatural agency in connection with his crime whetted my curiosity until it was more keen than ever, and I made up my mind to hear the story to the end. If I had to commit a crime and get myself sentenced to confinement in that prison for life, to do so. Oh my gosh. Fortunately, extreme measures of this nature were unnecessary, for after a few moments, Serenes calmed down, and seating himself beside me on the cot, drained his water pitcher to the dregs and began. "Excuse me for not offering you a drink," he said, "but the wine they serve here, while moist, is hardly what a connoisseur would choose except for bathing purposes. And I compliment you by assuming that you do not wish to taste it." "Thank you," I said. "I do not like to take water straight exactly. I always dilute it, in fact, with a little of this." Here I extracted a small flask from my pocket and handed it to him. "Ah," he said, smacking his lips as he took a long pull at its contents, "that puts spirits into a man. Yes, it does, I replied ruefully as I noted that he had left me very little but the flask. But I don't think it was necessary for you to deprive me of all of mine. No, that is, you can't appreciate the necessity until you have suffered in your life as I am suffering. You were never sent up yourself, and I'm going to stop right there. I think it's going to be another good one. Yay! Hope you're enjoying. Live at 5 today. It's hump day. Can't wait to see y'all. I'll be donning my witchy poo hat. Love this hat. And we'll do more Halloween trivia and just chat and whatnot. Thank you, Cheryl, for this gorgeous, gorgeous shawl. I need to change shawls every time I come on. Everybody's been so sweet. Since lots of squirrels have sent me gorgeous shawls. And I've almost got Madonna's done. I think I'm going to add some to it. Anyway, that's another story. See y'all later, Gators. Hopefully at 5 be sweet. Don't be ugly. Bye-bye.